Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 9 Frames Podcast. This is episode 83, and it is Monday, March 11th, 2024. I'm Bill Whalen.
And I'm Mike Whalen.
Be sure to catch us, as always, on YouTube at 9 Frames Podcast. Our Spotify is 9 Frames, and our X is at 9 Frames Pod. Please follow us on there. Subscribe, like, comment, and share if you enjoy the show.
Yeah, we don't really have much news, but it's whatever we could bring over the weekend, so we'll get into it soon.
Yeah, definitely a couple of small tidbits, a nice feel-good story with Joey Votto that we're going to talk about.
Definitely.
But I did want to mention here, there are 9 days until the Dodgers and the Padres kick off the regular season with that home-and-home split 2-game early season series in Korea. There are still 9 key free agents out there. These are them: Blake Snell, the Cy Young winner, Jordan Montgomery, J.D. Martinez, Mike Clevenger, Michael Lorenzen, Brandon Belt, Tommy Pham, Adam Duvall, and Michael A. Taylor still unsigned.
I'm surprised guys like Adam Duvall, Tommy Pham, and Michael Taylor, Brandon Belt even haven't found a team. Lorenzen, these are guys that aren't going to cost teams that much, and it's not going to be long deals. I understand Snell, Montgomery, and maybe even J.D. Martinez, depending on what he's asking for after he had a monster year last year with the Dodgers. But, I mean, the last 5-6 guys you just mentioned, it really makes no sense at all for them to not have teams yet.
I mean, I think this whole list is pretty wild 9 days before a regular season kicks off.
Blake Snell's a 2-time Cy Young. The market has to be completely messed up for him to not have a team yet.
Yeah, I mean, if this list sounds insane to you as a listener, it is. That's not normal 9 days before regular season baseball is played. Those are a lot of big names.
Yeah, definitely not. And like you said, just 9 days until they go to Korea for those games. So we'll see what happens with the remaining big-name free agents.
And we will get into the current news that happened over this weekend. So, I mean, we got a couple of points here. The first of which is something that made me very happy to see. It wasn't exactly the kind of deal I thought he'd get, but former MVP Joey Votto has agreed to a minor league deal with his hometown Toronto Blue Jays. Not even a big league invite on that.
Yeah, really surprising, honestly, but also at the same time, it's kind of not based on what you just said in the intro. I mean, with all those guys still out there, it's kind of hard to imagine Votto getting a major league deal, which is, I mean, I can't even believe I'm saying that.
Crazy, man. I mean, this is a guy who his numbers never really dipped. He dealt with injuries last year, but that's not something to deter you that much from signing a former MVP like him.
Yeah, I think it's a smart move from the Blue Jays. It doesn't hurt to have a veteran leader like that. Everybody has always praised him as one of the best teammates. I mean, he's not a selfish guy. The Blue Jays, they made the playoffs last year, so it'd be really cool for him to be inserted into a lineup that has a chance to get back to the playoffs.
Yeah, baseball season is pretty lengthy. I mean, it makes sense to me that he's going to see a roster spot, and probably pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't take the chance, especially for him being a Canadian-born man. I mean, it would be a cool story.
Yeah, I don't know if you knew this, but his home is 25 minutes from the Rogers Center right now.
See? That's crazy.
Wild.
He'll probably be the most comfortable he's ever been in his career.
Yeah, baby pictures of him wearing a bib saying he's a little Blue Jay.
Yeah,
pretty wild, man.
He grew up there, and he finally has a chance to play for the Blue Jays. I mean, I hope
he's wearing number 37.
I don't like. Hopefully, maybe he'll change that.
I don't know.
For the regular season, if he makes the team, maybe that's because it's a non-roster invite, and he doesn't know if he's making the team yet. So
it could be.
He hasn't picked like an official number, but yeah, I mean, I'm just rooting for him to make the team.
Just 24 hours before this deal was announced, actually less than 24 hours, he said, "I'll do whatever it takes to get back on a major league field." And that was during a Zoom interview, so it's pretty wild that he ends up getting that deal within 24 hours, and this is the path. He'll have to grind his way back to the bigs.
Definitely going to be rooting for Joey Votto, and I feel like there's definitely a spot for him to take some games at first if he has to, and then DH. Why not?
Yeah, I could just imagine how good of a morale booster that would be for the
100%.
Toronto Blue Jays.
For sure.
The next thing I'll talk about absolutely came out of left field, man. Dave Roberts announces over the weekend that Mookie Betts will be the Dodgers' full-time shortstop moving forward. He just completed the move from right field to second base this spring after being quite a utility man last year, but it seems like he's cemented in at shortstop.
I believe he was up for a Gold Glove for utility, right? And then he won it in right field. Mm-hmm. No, he didn't win it in right field. It was Tatis.
I think that was Silver Slugger, but either way, he was up for utility and right field. So he played a lot of right field, but moved over to second base, where he was going to be playing full time this year. But now it's going to be shortstop.
He came up as a second baseman with the Red Sox. That's what he was drafted as. So it made sense to move him back to his original position if he was comfortable with it. But I mean, Shortstop is much more difficult than a second base.
It's
much
the biggest range on the infield.
Yeah.
That's a wide cone that he's going to be having to cover out there, and it's going to be interesting to see him do it. We know he's a guy who's got wheels. He showed it out in right field all the time.
Yeah, hell of an athlete. It's very hard to transition from the outfield back to the infield, let alone shortstop. Like, it's the exact opposite of what Tatis just did.
Mm-hmm. Everybody on Twitter having a laugh at his expense as the first play he got over at shortstop was booted, but
it's spring training.
Yeah, this is a guy that he's going to come around, and it'll be interesting. It's interesting to me that this move seems to be made because they like Gavin Lux more as a second baseman.
I was about to say that, yeah.
When Gavin Lux actually came up as a primary shortstop, so...
Yeah. They must like Mookie's range and arm better than Lux, and... who knows if this happens for the whole season? I know he's saying it's permanent, but they also said it was permanent for him to be at second base, and it lasted 3 weeks.
Yeah, that didn't even make it into the regular season, so we'll have to keep an eye on the Dodgers just like everybody else will.
Yeah, Dave Roberts uses some words that sometimes might not be very truthful. I don't know if permanent
just strong language, dramatic language there, but we'll have to keep an eye on that. It's going to be so interesting seeing Mookie Betts at second base, number 50 at second.
The Dodgers in general are going to be
shortstop.
Dodgers in general are going to be very interesting without.
To be one of the only shortstops to ever wear number 50, right?
Yeah, it's going to look really weird, actually, now that I haven't even thought about that. That's going to look really strange, a shortstop wearing 50.
Yeah, and like you were saying there, Ohtani and Yamamoto coming over, as well as, they were all over the place. They bring Kike back.
Huge offseason.
They bring in Glasnow via trade. They've been all over the place.
Extended them.
Basically every episode we're mentioning the Dodgers 2 times.
And here we go again.
We'll move on to the AL West now, where Ryan Stanek agrees to a 1-year deal with the Mariners. I still haven't seen money on this deal. I'm not sure if you have.
Nope.
No, so I'm not sure, but I'm sure it's a couple, probably in the 5 to 10 mil range if I had to guess, because the 32-year-old right-hander has 23 postseason appearances. All but 2 of them came with Houston in the past 3 years, so that's a lot of recency.
Yeah, I wanted him to be signed by the Mets. I'm a fan of Ryan Stanek. He throws hard. He can go multiple innings. The Astros got the most out of him. He looked great for them. I think it's especially. This happens. It seems like a lot with the Mariners and Astros, where they just kind of flip-flop relievers.
Definitely, I think this is a really good move for the Mariners after dealing Sewald at last year's deadline.
Definitely.
So this is going to be a guy who steps in. If you get him at his best, he is filthy. Last year he was 3-1 with a 4.09 ERA in the regular season, but the year before that, 2-1 with a 1.15 in over 50 innings. It was the lowest ERA in Houston history for a pitcher with at least 50 innings. So
I actually didn't even know that was a fact that's true. That's crazy.
And he's got that much playoff experience in recency. He brings much-needed playoff experience to the Mariners, who are looking to get back there after being eliminated by the Houston Astros and Ryan Stanek just a couple of years ago. So it'll be interesting to see those 2 teams butt heads like they did most of the last season last year.
Yeah, and it's always good for, I've been saying it for how long, it's always good to have guys like this just for depth, if nothing else.
Yeah, no, I think
it's a long season.
I think he's going to step into a pretty prominent role.
I think he will too. Yeah, for sure.
Guy's a stud, and if you get him at his best, it's a really great signing. If you get him at his worst, which he was kind of looking like last year, he's still league average.
They're going to probably partner him with Matt Brash, who we saw has some nasty stuff last year.
Filthy slider on that. One of the most fun ones to watch. It looks like a cartoon.
Yeah, the Mariners, definitely a good move. Anytime you sign a reliever for something, it's a 1-year deal, so it can't be bank breaking. So
and that's a team that was heartbreakingly close last year, so they'll be looking to make that final push and make it back into the postseason.
Good move.
The last news I'm going to talk about here is very sad news that definitely wasn't expecting to see, but Noelvi Marte, a top prospect in the MLB and the Reds' number 1 prospect, has been suspended 80 games without pay by Major League Baseball for violating the league's joint drug prevention and treatment program.
Yeah, it feels like he was the next guy up for the Reds to crack that roster in 2024, and it still might happen. It's just going to be half the season's going to be gone by the time he even has a chance. He might end up being a September guy, maybe later in the year. Injuries in August or whatever, who knows? But yeah, it is really sad.
A lot of people don't know this, but as a result of that suspension, you just said he can come up later on in the season. He will not be eligible for the 2024 postseason. So
I actually didn't know that either. That's very tough.
If the Reds make it, that is a big hole to fill if he ends up playing a role for them down the stretch.
In all fairness, though, I don't think that he was I don't think they were planning on having him make the team for opening day.
It sounds like he was going to be playing mostly all games at third base for them.
Starting at opening day?
It sounded like it.
That's even more of a blow then. Yeah, that's tough.
That's what it sounds. And this does not sound like it was one of those, this is a misunderstanding thing. No, he tested positive for boldenone, a banned anabolic androgenic steroid, excuse me. But, yeah, I mean, this is a legitimate steroid use.
Yeah.
I mean, manager Bell, he did come out and he said when he comes back, he's coming back with open arms. It will be forgiven and forgotten.
He just made a mistake.
It'll be a situation that's over, and this guy is a stud.
Yeah, I don't understand these players, man. Like, how dumb do you got to be to try to use steroids in 2024? They're gonna catch you.
They're gonna catch you.
They're gonna catch you.
Unless you think that you're gonna be able to, like, fake it.
Why, though?
You're
a Major League Baseball player. You're a top prospect. You don't think you're good enough?
You look at his numbers from last year when you would assume he was using those steroids. He slashed 316, 366, and 456 in 123 plate appearances in the majors in 2023.
Yeah.
He looked like he was going to be the full-time starter, it sounds like, at third base. But now this 3-year signing that they made earlier in the offseason of Heimer Candelario, that pays off.
Yeah,
he steps into that role.
That's why I didn't think he was even going to make the team out of camp, because
it sounded like Candelario was going to be a DH type of thing. DH/first.
Third, he bounces around.
Kind of the utility thing while they tried to play the kid at third, but now this is going to be a long 80 games where Candelario steps into that role.
If there's a guy that I trust fully to step into that role, it's Candelario.
I actually just wanted to drop some breaking news right now that popped up on my phone. Yankees right-hand pitcher Garrett Cole will be receiving an MRI on his pitching elbow as he feels some discomfort there.
Oh, boy.
This is not the time that you want to hear that. There are no real details yet, but an uncomfortable elbow.
Anytime you hear MRI on the pitching elbow, you hold your breath, especially for somebody as important and as good as Garrett Cole was, who won the unanimous Cy Young in the American League last year.
Man, we were talking about it last episode, just how many pitchers, big-name pitchers, are getting banged up, and if you're getting an MRI on your elbow just 10 to 15 days before the season starts, you might be starting on the IL as well.
Yeah, that's not a great look.
Yeah, back to Noelvi Marte, because we were in the middle of that. I just do think it's a very sad situation, and it'll be interesting to keep an eye on his comeback, but it's very disappointing, not only for him, but for the Reds as well, as they'll lose out on what was one of their best young players.
Definitely disappointing for him and the Reds, but it is nice to hear David Bell say that he won't be ostracized upon his return, and he'll be welcomed back in.
Definitely. The comments you want to hear as a player, for sure, when you make that kind of quote-unquote mistake.
Yeah, one time is one thing. If he does it again, then we're like, okay, maybe we don't welcome you back as warmly as we will this time.
We'll see him about halfway through the season, where I'm sure they'll try to work him back onto the roster. It's a crowded young infield there in Cincinnati, so this clears it up a little bit for the first 80.
Yeah, and I think Candelario is a great replacement. I think he's a solid switch-hitting bat. He can hit from both sides. He plays decent defense. I mean, it's a good signing.
Agreed. We'll keep an eye on those Reds. Thank you to everybody for listening wherever you do. This was episode 83 of the 9 Frames podcast, and it is Monday, March 11th, 2024. I have been Bill Whalen.
And I've been Mike Whalen.
Be sure to catch us, as always, on YouTube at 9 Frames Podcast. Our Spotify is 9 Frames, and our X is at 9 Frames Pod. Please follow us on there. Subscribe, like, comment, and share if you enjoy the show.
Yeah, we appreciate it as always. Some feel-good stories over the weekend with Joey Votto. Some not so feel good stories with Noelvi Marte being suspended, and now, like you just said, the breaking news that Garrett Cole will get an MRI on his elbow, his pitching elbow. Yeah, I mean, I say it at the end of every episode, man. We're getting close, and it's becoming more true. We're getting even closer now.
Yeah, it is
9 days.
It is a scary time for pitchers, man. Everybody's just going down, but we are in the single digits, like you said, in 9 days. We're going to get some 6:05 Eastern times on those games. So if you're on the West Coast, you're pretty much not watching.
Unless you're getting up.
Dodgers fans are going to have to get up at 3 a.m. On a Wednesday.
Yeah, and then Thursday.
And that's a weird little 2-game series. I don't know if you looked, but it's a home and away split. So they'll be playing 1 game each as the home team and away team getting the bottoms, the last licks.
Very interesting. I mean, I'm probably going to get up to watch them, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, considering it's 6:05 on the East Coast here on a Wednesday and Thursday, I think that's kind of worth it, considering it'll be the first 2 official baseball games of the 2024
People also
season.
Getting up for work. They might throw it on the TV before
on the East Coast.
Yeah,
I believe that when you get 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that's pretty rough
for the teams that are playing.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. hopefully we can bring you more news throughout the week about the bigger free agents that Bill mentioned in the intro that are still unsigned. Those nine guys that are still waiting for that call.
9 big free agents, 9 days. We'll see how many of them come off the board.
Yeah, we'll see you guys the next time we have a sufficient amount of news, I guess. Could be Wednesday, it could be Friday.
Have a good week.
And take it easy, everybody.